Morning, everyone. Thanks so much for being here. My name's Ryan, campus pastor here at our Akron East Campus of Grace. And if we haven't met yet, love to meet you, maybe hear how you made your way to the campus today. And excited just to tell you about some things that have been happening here around the campus over the last handful of weeks and months, and get you up to speed a little bit on some construction projects that we're doing, kind of getting ready for our community to be able to show up here in the fall. So you may have seen some construction vehicles show up in the parking lot out there. There's a big barn area back here. I don't know if you know this or not, but this all used to be a horse barn. And so we're actually going to be taking a good portion of that down, and that's actually in process now. So if you're seeing that all play out, that's what's going on. It's all going to be green space. And we added some parking here over the last handful of weeks just to make some space for everybody to park. And then you maybe have seen it in the lobby there. We just expanded that lobby area. And so keep an eye out. We're going to be changing some things in the bathrooms, out in the lobby. And just thank you for your patience as there's construction happening kind of all the time. That'll be the case for the next handful of weeks and months. So excited about what God is doing here in our area as we continue to kind of let people know that we're here. And so please consider, maybe if you have just started coming, you've been here for a little while, just know there's a 9 a.m. service as well. If you're looking for a little more space, that might be a good option. But also, we're excited you're here and excited about what God is up to. And we started a series a few weeks ago. It's all about wisdom. And we're looking at the book of Proverbs. And the book of Proverbs is just loaded with wisdom. And wisdom, we kind of defined loosely for the sake of this series, as just the art of living and loving well. That's kind of what we said. So we take information, right? We take knowledge and apply that in relationships and endeavors. And we say that the art of kind of taking that knowledge and putting it into practice, that's wisdom. And we said everybody needs wisdom, right? If you want to have great relationships, if you want to have a good dating relationship or marriage, a great parenting kind of relationship with kids or parents, great friendships even, then we need wisdom in all of those things. If I want to do anything and be successful in it, I'm going to need wisdom in that. So wisdom is applicable to all of us. And if you're here today, maybe if you're a follower of Jesus, certainly you can recognize that wisdom is given to us by God. In fact, the Bible says that the fear of the Lord, the reverence of the Lord is the idea, is the beginning of wisdom. It's kind of where it starts. And I would say this, if you're not a follower of Jesus today, maybe as you investigate following Jesus, investigate Christianity, you can hear kind of what God's design and his view of wisdom is and how that works kind of in practice. So that's what we've been talking about over the last handful of weeks. And if you've missed those conversations, you can catch up online. You can do that through our YouTube channel if you want to subscribe there, or just go to our website and you can do that as well. So we talked about wisdom. We talked about foolishness last week. That was a lot of fun. And what we can do today is kind of take another step into the conversation and really see wisdom applied in some relationships. So we're going to take a weekend here to look at friendship. And friendship is super important. And we're just going to see how much this shows up, that if we're going to be people that pursue wisdom, we're going to need some friends along the way. We're going to need to lock arms with some people and help each other to stay on the path a little bit of wisdom. And so wisdom and friendship is massive. So we're going to dive into the conversation today, and we'll be kind of all over the place in Proverbs. That's how Proverbs is. There's not a ton of context. There's these short little statements in the book of Proverbs, and you grab hold and they're packed with wisdom. So we're going to look at some of the ones that really dive in on the topic of friendship. And so maybe make notes that way, and you can follow along here on the screen and catch all those verses. So here's the first one. We're going to look at Proverbs 22:24 through 25. And here's what we get. We say, do not make friends with a hot-tempered person. Do not associate with one easily angered, or you may learn their ways and get yourself ensnared. And so here's the idea. The writer of Proverbs is saying, hey, make friendships, but as you do that, you want to pay attention and choose friendships carefully. Because when we're talking about friendships, let me frame this a little bit. What we're not talking about is we're not talking about every acquaintance we've ever had, right? So we're not saying, hey, don't associate with anybody that's easily angered or has a hot temper. Jesus himself would interact with people that had all kinds of problems and issues, the sinners, so to say. And so we should do that too, right? If I'm a follower of Jesus, I'm going to share my faith. I'm going to know people that are certainly not following God, and that's a good thing. What we're talking about today, though, is friendship. And friendship is that inner circle, right? It's the people who are the super, super close-in people that I'm going to trust at a deep level, and I'm going to assume that they've got my back and I've got their back, and we're going to navigate life together, right? When we're talking about friendship, that's what we're talking about. Not like, hey, I've got 500 friends. No, that's not the kind of friendship we're talking about. We're talking about 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 friendships that are super deep in, and those people kind of form our base of how we navigate life. And here's the idea, right? So the writer of Proverbs is going to say, hey, when you're looking for a friend, you're looking for somebody to navigate life with, what you need to recognize is that this person is like headed somewhere. They have habits, they have worldviews, they have language, they have their kind of who they are is descriptive of kind of where their trajectory is going. You also are headed somewhere. And so you want to make sure that who you want to become is pretty similar to who they want to become. So, right, when we're talking about friendship, we're probably going to have different jobs. We're probably going to have different personalities. We're going to probably have different backgrounds. The thing that we want to have in common, the thing that we share, is the direction that we're headed. And they're saying, in essence, make sure to pay attention to who you're going to pick to be in this inner circle with you, because this person, they're going to affect you. They're going to lead you somewhere. Whether you want them to or not, that's going to happen. They're going to rub off each other, and we can all kind of see it, right? I was thinking about this week, kind of walking through the conversation, kind of teaching myself a little bit from the scripture and hearing God on that. But I was thinking back to like my friendships and the ways that my friendships have impacted me over life. And I was thinking back to middle school. Man, middle school is something, right? Like middle school is a special time. It's very strange and awkward. And I was as well, right? And I had some friends in middle school, and I had one friend in particular. My mom called this friend Dark Cloud, right? She just like literally, she didn't tell him this, but she named this guy Dark Cloud. And and here's why, because every time I hung out with that friend, I got in some strange level of trouble that I would never get on my own, right? I did things, I said things, I made decisions that I wasn't going to do on my own, but because I hung out with Dark Cloud, right, he got me into some trouble. Now, I have to take responsibility for those decisions, but we did a lot of things that will not be mentioned publicly in this recorded message for legal purposes. But we did stuff that I would look back and go, man, I would never do that. That person was influencing me in ways that I had no idea I was going to be influenced when I began to be friends with them. It's not like I went out and chose and said, hey, I want to be influenced by the Dark Cloud and do things that I don't really want to do. I never set out to do that. I didn't apply for that kind of friendship, but that's what ended up happening. And my mom, in her wisdom, was like, hey, maybe you should think this one through a little bit, because I noticed that this person is kind of pulling you away from the direction you actually want to head. And so when I'm looking for a friend, when I'm looking to really ask the right questions about friendship, I want to make sure that I am becoming and headed in the direction that my friend is headed. We want to go in the same kind of place. And I think that's critical, right? So if I want a godly friendship, if I want a friendship that's based around godly wisdom and around the person of Jesus, then this person and I, if we understand each other properly, are going to have the same goal. Like we want to become something. I don't care what you do for a job, I don't care what you live, blah, blah, but like, what am I becoming? And if I'm becoming like the person of Jesus, you're becoming like the person of Jesus, we're going to have alignment and help each other to do that. Make sense? And the writer of Proverbs is going to say, hey, make sure to think this through, because you're going to pick up the habits of the friend that you're with. Now, look at this next one. I love this. Proverbs 27:9. In the ancient world here, they're talking about perfume and incense. It's perfume and incense bring joy to the heart, and the pleasantness of a friend springs from their heartfelt advice. Kind of loaded here, but here's what he's saying. In the ancient world, if you smelled incense and perfume, it's kind of the same today, I guess, but a little deeper in the ancient world, that would be a symbol of celebration. It would be kind of the fragrance of joy. And as you smelled that, it would represent kind of a victory or a celebration. And saying the same thing is going to be true of the pleasantness of a friend. And if you ever had a great friend that loved you enough to say things to you in love and give you loving advice, they cared enough to risk the relationship a little bit and move towards you and give you advice that would help you to actually become the person that you actually want to become. Not the person that you think you want to become in the moment or do the thing that you want to do in the moment, but to actually be there to give you this heartfelt, sincere advice that helps you move where you want to go. That's what the writer of Proverbs is talking about. In fact, the Bible is going to describe it this way, that when we surround ourselves with people who are like this, people who are wise, look at what 13:20 says. It says, walk with the wise and become wise, for a companion of fools suffers harm. Man, that is so true. The Bible is just throwing it right out there. You want to become wise? Make some friends with some wise people, right? Make yourself a friend of the wise, and you're going to become wise. Why? You're going to rub off on each other, and you're going to be influenced by each other. And then the flip side is also true. If I lock myself in with some fools, I'm going to suffer harm. I'm going to bump into situations where I'm going to get kind of pulled off track. I'm going to get influenced by this person, right? And this is going to be the case that whenever somebody starts drifting away in a friendship, the likelihood of that friend drifting with them is greater. And I have been a fool. And I have been a fool in friendship before. Some of you guys, I've mentioned this to you before, but I didn't grow up in the church, didn't grow up knowing Jesus. I would have called myself an atheist. And I was friends, one of my good friends was a pastor's kid, and I believed in Jesus. And I was in his life in a core way, and I influenced him away from the person of Christ. Him being friends with me caused ruin for him. That's a grief in my life, right? I apologize for that, and obviously we kind of connected the dots on it. But I have been a foolish friend at times and been somebody that has drawn some away. So that we can find ourselves in either side of this, being a friend who is wise or being a friend who is foolish. But I love that Proverbs does this. It just kind of says it. It just lays it out there. You want to become wise? Walk with the wise. And just so you know, if you walk with foolish people, it's going to bring some ruin, right? You're going to end up finding yourself doing things and saying things and believing things and making decisions that you probably don't really want to do and you might not do on your own. So pick these people super careful. Right? It's kind of the heart and the idea. Walk with the wise and become wise. Now, a lot of this speaks to this direction that we're headed in friendship, and recognizing that a lot of the alignment between friends is about who we're becoming and who we want to become. Now, let's talk a little bit about the connection and the actual relationship between us, that as we lean into that friendship, what should the quality of that lean in look like? What does a great friendship feel like? What's it look like? What's it described by? The Bible's going to say some super interesting things here. Look what it says in 16:28. A perverse person stirs up conflict, and a gossip separates close friends. Whew. Okay? So let's just process this. If I'm going to be friends with somebody, and that person is a perverse person, right? Or if I am, then what's going to happen is that friendship is going to be marked by drama. You ever been in a drama situation where constantly somebody is the victim and somebody is the rescuer, and there's always a drama cycle playing out. No one really likes that, right? This isn't an enjoyable thing to be a part of, but it's a reality, right? That I can be in a situation where conflict and drama is always ensuing. I don't want to have that in my key friendships. Can I know you as an acquaintance? Sure, absolutely. Do I want you to be my friend? No. If I'm that way, I need to check myself and ask that question. Am I the one bringing conflict up? I love the next part of this verse. A gossip separates close friends. One of the key pieces of great friendship is the ability to say things to your friend and know that they can hold the trust. If I'm going to trust you and we're going to be friends, I got to be able to share my actual heart with you and be vulnerable with you and tell you what's really going on in my heart and mind. Now, for that to be true, I got to trust that you're not going to go run and tell that to all of your other people, your other friends. I need to know that you're not a gossip. And of course, I need to make sure that I'm not a gossip as well. But here's a good marker, good indicator. If my friend is a gossip or if I'm a gossip, here's how I want to check that a little bit. Here's a good test. Yeah, if they're talking to you about them, then they will talk to them about you. Hear that again. If they are talking to you about them, they're going to talk to them about you. If every time you talk to a friend, they're telling you the personal, intimate business of another friend in their life, they are sharing your personal, intimate business with other people. You can pretty much know that. Right? So I want to make note of that. And I'm not going to give my trust and lend my friendship all the way if somebody's in the place where they're a gossip. Certainly, if I'm operating there, I want to check that as well, right? I want to make sure that this line is solid and I'm not breaking or breaching trust on a regular basis. He goes on, next proverb here, 18:24, he says, one who has unreliable friends soon comes to ruin. But there's a friend who sticks closer than a brother. Man, this is amazing. Here's the thing. All of us, at some time or another, we are going to run into trouble. Right? We're going to run into situations where difficulty comes into our lives, where adversity comes into our lives. And when that happens, not if, but when that happens, what we need is a friend that we can rely on. When tragedy strikes, when I lose the job, when I get the diagnosis, or somebody who I love gets the diagnosis, what I need is not just a counselor. There may be a spot for that. Not just a pastor. Might be a spot for that. What I need is a friend. I need somebody who will just see me and know me and be there for me in the midst of my emotional need. It's a reality, and all of us have it. The person who has unreliable friends soon comes to ruin, because when the difficulty strikes and nobody's there, then what happens is I will end up drifting away. And these kind of painful moments that come into all of our lives often are the trigger that cause me to start to move in a direction that I don't actually want to move in. And if there's no friend to go to lean on and to share with, then my likelihood of drifting into oblivion has multiplied 10 times more. It's just the reality, right? The person with unreliable friends soon comes to ruin, but there's a friend who sticks closer than a brother. I love this. There is a friend who sticks closer than a brother. This has been my experience, man. When I look back at my life, there have been just a handful of close friends. Not 20, not 30, like 3, maybe 4. And when I look at where my life has gone and how it's developed, I can trace back the impact of these key friendships that changed my life. I'll give you an example. When I was in college, one of my good friends, man, he challenged me and almost bullied me into asking my now wife out. I was, man, what if she says no? He's like, shut up and do it. Right? We were friends, right? Like, we could talk to each other like that. Quit being a wimp. Just go do it. I don't know, man. What if she says no? Who cares, right? He pressed me to go ask my wife out. What a friend. What a friend. Did he gain anything from that? There's no commission. There's no paycheck. There's no reward. My friend loved me, and he saw you're crazy about that girl, and she would be amazing for you. And in a moment of friendship, he said, go do it, sucker, right? Quit being a wimp. Go make the move, make the jump. My whole life would be different if that friend wasn't in the thick of that decision. It's huge. By the way, that same friend is the person that introduced me to Jesus. Loved me enough to look me in the eye and say, friend, right? Ryan, I know that you don't know God. I see your pain. I see your struggle. I see you trying to figure out what life's about. Can I tell you about what I found? And he told me about the person of Christ. And that is friendship. And I just look at you and tell you, if that friend ever needs anything from me for the rest of my life, I'm in. Because he introduced me to my Savior and he introduced me to my bride. I'm loyal to him. Changed my life. He's a friend to me. Guys, what I long for in my life and in yours and what the Lord wants for us is to find these kind of quality relationships that we can lean in on. That I can be known and I can know you and I can rely on you, you can rely on me, and we can walk together. And it's not perfect and it's not super needy, but when friendship is needed, it's there. It's how we're made to live. It's how we're made to be. Now, here's what I recognize, at least what I've seen over time, is that some of us have been in friendships like this. And historically, like we remember. There was a guy, and we were super tight, or there's a lady, and then something happened in that friendship, and that friendship failed. And we got hurt, and we got betrayed, or our trust got broken. And now there's distance, and I don't know that I can let anybody into that circle anymore because I did once, and it hurt real bad, and now I don't know if I want to go do that again. And so the summary, the conclusion that we've made is it's better and easier to live life alone, not really known, than to go through the pain of that. Let me just encourage you. Right? Don't give up on friendship because one friend failed. Don't give up on friendship because one friend failed. It's worth it. It's worth the pain and the potential loss of feeling betrayed or being betrayed to find one or two great friends. And if you find one or two in your lifetime, it is absolute gold. It's worth it. It's worth trying to fight for, and it's worth trying to find. But if you're hurt and you got beat up, let me just encourage you to just kind of get back on the horse, because this thing is worth it. And over the long run, some of our greatest joys and our greatest protections for where we go in life come out of that friendship. And let me just say this as well, that if I don't have a good friend, I'm going to drift one day. It's going to happen. It's inevitable. And I don't care how strong you are, how tough you are. I don't care how intelligent you are, how independent you are. You're going to hit a weak moment. And in that weak moment, that is often where the big change happens in our trajectory. The big drift begins. It's when we need a friend. And it's when we need a friend in the midst of life striking us that we wish that friendship was there, right? Friendship's never going to feel urgent, right? It's never going to have a commercial about it. I got to cultivate that friendship so that it's there when I need it and I'm there when they need me. It's a purposeful pursuit, something that's absolutely critical. Love this passage. It illustrates a lot of this. A friend loves at all times, and a brother is born for a time of adversity. A friend loves at all times. The beauty of friendship is this, well, at least one of them, is that a friend knows the worst thing about you, right? They know the worst thing about you, and they still love you. I always say, but between a couple of my best friends and Lori, right, like they see the entirety of my life. There's no secrets. They know me fully, completely. My habits, my thoughts, where my head is, where my heart is, where my life is. A friend loves at all times. At our bottom, in our difficulty, when there's no benefit to be gained. And that's when a friend's there. Who can I count on in the thick of life? That's it. And a brother is born for adversity, for those difficulties that are inevitable. I want to find, again, one or two that can stick by me. A sister, a brother, a deepened friendship, somebody who I can really trust, right? And there's no perfect friendship. We know that. You're not a perfect friend, so why would you expect somebody else to be a perfect friend back to you? But there is great friendship. It's certainly worth having. I love that the Bible talks not only about the quality of what kind of trust we can build here and the direction that we can head, but it also talks about how friendship impacts me. Listen to this verse. As iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another. As iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another. That not only do I come to your rescue in times of need and you come to mine, but also I'm going to see the blind spots that you have and you're going to see my blind spots. And because we're walking closely together, we know each other, we uniquely can speak into those blind spots. Otherwise, unless somebody knows me deeply, how are they going to actually know if I'm drifting or not? By the time it actually is visible, it's too late. Friendship forms me, it sharpens me, it molds me, and great friendship has that quality to it, where we're going to make each other better. Said it this way here in your notes. Great friendships make us better, not just make us feel better. Certainly, do we comfort one another? Absolutely. Are we there to listen? Totally. And we make each other better. We take each other to the next level. And I would look at a great test, great litmus test right now of great friendships and the friendships in your life. If you don't have somebody in your life who's making you better, they're not helping you grow into the person that Christ wants you to become, you probably don't have a great friendship yet. Or at least you don't have one currently. If you would look and say, the people who I would count as friends mostly influence me to do this, it's worth asking, do I need to begin to search and pray and discover another friendship or two? If the friendships only drag me down, if they only dark cloud me, and they're only taking me off course, I would say those aren't probably your actual friends. Those are people that you can love. They're people you can know. They're not your inner circle. Right? Not mad at you. Don't hate you. Just there's only so much room in here. And the people that are in this inner circle with me need to be people who are going to love me through and through and point me to the person of Jesus. Great friendships make us better. Now, as we look at the direction that friendship takes us and we see the quality of a friendship and the fighting of drift, which is absolutely and incredibly important, ultimately we see the perfect friend in the person of Jesus. I'm so blown away that Jesus would use this language when he would look at his disciples eventually and he would call them his friends. Right? He knew them, he walked with them, he was their rabbi and their master, and eventually he would look at them and say, you know my business, you're my friends. And in fact, he would define and attach love to friendship. Look at this verse. Greater love has no one than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends. He would look and say that's real love. It's totally for the benefit of the person being loved. I'm in your life to love you and give to you, and recognize that you're in my life to love me and give to me. And so if I want to be a great friend, if I want to find great friendships, I should begin to ask the question, am I living like and am I acting like a great friend would act? If I want a kind of friend like that, am I a friend like that? Am I there to offer myself and give of myself? And am I ready for that kind of quality of relationship? Is a phenomenal question to ask, right? I would say it this way. If you want great friendship, start by asking, what would a great friend do? What would a great friend do? What's a great friend look like? Right? Whether you're 10 or 20 or 80, if you've never experienced great friendship, you might have to start at the beginning and just ask that question, am I a good friend today? What's a great friend look like? Where do I begin? And let me just give you some practical things that I think may be helpful as we kind of wrap our time up. I have prayed with a bunch of people over the years in helping ask God to bring a friendship into their lives. Because people have come to me inevitably and say, man, Ryan, I don't have any friends. This is a common problem, right? It's the reality of it. And I would say, guys, I think what we should do is start by asking the Lord to bring a friend into our lives. Because he wants that, by the way, more than you want that. If you don't have this yet, literally ask God for it by faith. He will bring you a friend. Now, we have to actually interact with people and get to know people, right? We got to put ourselves in places where we can meet some new folks if we don't have any friends. But we want to begin by asking God to move. Lord, would you raise up a friend for me? If you're a guy, a brother for me. If you're a lady, a sister for me. And then we got to begin to open ourselves to the possibility that this could turn into a friendship, right? And it takes time. It takes years often. But man, it's an investment that is worth it. And literally, we got to begin by moving towards that friendship. If there's somebody in your life that's already kind of like this, but really you haven't invested yet in the relationship, I would look at that and say, man, take the opportunity to double down on this thing. Make it happen. There's a practical side to it. One of my friends over the last 20 years, we have a standing meeting monthly that we have had for 19 of those 20 years. I'm like, we just need it, right? Because you guys know how this is when you're in school. In sports or in band or in class or whatever, we had rhythms already built that we could bump into each other, interact with each other. You grow up and a lot of that stuff goes away. So how do I make sure I stay connected to my friend? We got to make it happen, right? Through thick and thin, through babies and travel and vacation schedules, and put it on the calendar and fight for it. And remember, this is not 10 people or 100 people. I'm talking 1 or 2, maybe a few friends. So I'm going to pray. I'm going to prioritize that. I want to start by actually kind of being the friend that I would like to have. I want to look to the example of Jesus, of what kind of friend he was. And then here's what I would say. If you have friends today, if you have a friend that is even in the ballpark of sounding like what we've described here, man, you better thank God for that person. And you should text them and say, thank you for being a friend to me. Thanks for being my brother or my sister. and literally say, God, thank you for putting this friend into my life, because that is a rare gift. So here's a conclusion for you that I would love for you to draw. I would love for you to not be content with anything less than a great friend in your life. To not settle for mediocre friends, for foolish friends, for damaging friends. I would love for you to be able to look and say, I will not stop pursuing relationships until I find a friend or two that I can really live life with and walk through the ups and downs with. As the band comes up, would you walk this through and consider it, leaning into becoming the kind of friend that you would hope to have? Would you pray with me? Father, I want to say thank you, Lord, again, for modeling friendship. Jesus, you showed us what it means to be a friend. You laid down your life. And God, I'm so grateful that you have given the gift of friendship to us, that we get to enjoy it. And Lord, I pray for each and every person in this room that you would, by your own power and might, place a friend into each person's life. Lord, I pray that that friendship would bring honor and glory to you. I pray that in years from now, as we look back on this moment, we could see that it was your hand connecting people together, maybe even people in this room right now. And that out of great friendship, ideas and safety and trust and love would form. And God, we know that that would bring honor and glory to your name. So Lord, work with that in power. Cause us to be honest with ourselves about the kind of friends that we are. And Lord, as we look to you as the true friend, we praise you and thank you for your love, Jesus. It's in your name we pray. Amen.